Between 1206 and 1368, the Mongol Empire wiped out roughly 40 million people. That was about 10% of every living human on the planet at the time. And the way they killed was not fast, not clean, and not anything close to merciful. These are the 20 worst torture methods used by Mongol armies, counted down from 20 to 1. And number 1 is the reason entire civilizations chose to surrender rather than fight back. Let's start with number 20. Locked in a box until you rot. The Mongols had a punishment called immurement. They would shove a prisoner inside a wooden crate barely bigger than a coffin and leave them in the middle of the desert. The person inside could not sit up, could not lie down, could not stretch. A small hole in the side let them reach out and beg for scraps of food from anyone passing by. Sometimes guards brought just enough bread to keep them alive longer, which only stretched out the suffering. In 1913, a French photographer actually captured a woman trapped inside one of these boxes in Mongolia. That photograph was published in National Geographic in 1922. Some prisoners spent months locked inside. Their muscles wasted away. Their minds broke long before their bodies gave out. But locking someone in a box to die slowly was only the beginning. What came next was much messier. Here comes number 19, gutting the dead for hidden treasure. In 1220, the Mongols attacked the city of Termez in modern-day Uzbekistan. After the city fell, a local woman begged to be spared. She told the soldiers she had swallowed pearls to keep them safe. They cut her stomach open and found the gems inside. That one moment changed the fate of the entire city. The Mongol commander ordered every single dead body in Termez sliced open. Thousands of corpses were gutted in the streets, while soldiers dug through intestines looking for gold, silver, and swallowed jewels. A massacre turned into a butcher shop because one woman tried to save her life with a lie. And that was just one city. What they did to people who tried to hide their wealth was even worse. Next one is number 18. Tortured until every coin was found. When the Mongols took a wealthy city, they grabbed the richest citizens and tortured them one by one until every hidden piece of gold was found. At the siege of Merv in 1221, Genghis Khan sat on a golden throne and watched while soldiers dragged wealthy prisoners forward. They bent fingers backward, they burned feet, they crushed hands. They kept going until the person either revealed where they had buried their fortune or died from the pain. The Mongols treated rich prisoners like safes that needed to be cracked open, and they had all the time in the world to do it. None of that was personal, though. What they did to cities that killed their own generals was something that still shocks historians to this day. Let's move to number 17, killing every living thing. After Nishapur killed Genghis Khan's son-in-law Tokchar with an arrow during a siege in April of 1221, the Khan's daughter was consumed by grief and rage. She demanded total revenge. And Genghis sent one command to his generals: grant her wish. What followed was one of the most complete destructions of a city ever recorded. Tolui Khan marched an army of 80,000 soldiers to Nishapur and breached the walls in over 70 locations. But the killing did not stop with the soldiers and citizens. They killed the dogs, they killed the cats. They killed every insect and every rat they could find inside the walls. Tokchar's widow personally oversaw the slaughter. When the killing was done, only 400 skilled craftsmen were spared and shipped back to Mongolia. Everything else that breathed inside Nishapur was dead. The medieval chronicler Juvaini wrote that even the vermin were hunted down, so nothing living could disturb her husband's spirit in the afterlife. The death toll, according to medieval accounts, reached up to 1.7 million people, though modern historians place the real number between 100,000 and 200,000. And if killing every animal in a city sounds extreme, what they did to 500 years of human knowledge was somehow worse. Let's talk about number 16, drowning a library in blood and ink. When Hulagu Khan captured Baghdad in February of 1258, his soldiers did not just kill between 200,000 and 2 million people in 7 days. They destroyed something that could never be replaced. The Mongols took the contents of the House of Wisdom, one of the greatest libraries in human history, and threw every book into the Tigris River. Centuries of work in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and philosophy sank to the bottom. Contemporary accounts say the river ran black with ink for days and red with blood at the same time. Scholars were executed alongside their students. The Mongols did not just kill the people of Baghdad, they killed 500 years of human knowledge in a single week. But destroying a library was still considered mild compared to what happens to anyone who personally insulted the Khan. Number 15. Stealing your soul before killing you. When Genghis Khan conquered the Tangut kingdom in 1227, the Tangut ruler was captured alive. But Genghis did not just want to kill him, he wanted to own his soul. So he renamed the ruler Shidurku, which means loyal. Then he had the man crushed to death. In Mongol belief, the name a person carried at the moment of death followed them into the afterlife. By renaming his enemy right before killing him, Genghis forced that spirit to serve the Mongol Empire for eternity. The man's real identity was erased. His soul became Mongol property. It was not enough to destroy the body. They wanted to own what came after. That was a punishment for a king. What they did to ordinary girls was a completely different kind of evil. Number 14. 4,000 girls punished for their fathers. In 1237, the Oirat tribe failed to send the expected group of young women to Mongol Emperor Ogedei Khan's harem. Persian chroniclers recorded what happened next. Ogedei ordered 4,000 Oirat girls rounded up and handed to his soldiers. The girls' own families were forced to stand and watch. 2 of the girls died. The rest were divided among the harem, merchant caravans, and military camps as property. One historian called it one of the worst single atrocities under Mongol rule. An entire generation of daughters destroyed because their fathers made one mistake. And if you think punishing daughters for their father's choices was the cruelest thing the Mongols did, the next entry will change your mind. Number 13. Forced to fight your own brother. When the Mongols captured a city, they grabbed every young man and gave them a choice. Join the Mongol army and attack the next city, or die right here. Thousands of captured soldiers were forced to march with the Mongol army and fight the next town on the list. These men were placed at the front of every assault, while real Mongol soldiers hung back. If a prisoner tried to run, cavalry cut him down in seconds. Brothers fought brothers. Sons fought fathers. Entire communities tore each other apart while the Mongols watched from behind, saving their own troops and letting their prisoners die first. That kind of psychological warfare was bad enough on the battlefield. What they did after the battle was designed to haunt generations. Number 12. Survivors sent to spread the nightmare. The Mongols did not try to kill every single person. They made sure some survived on purpose. After destroying a city, commanders would pick a small group of survivors and send them out in every direction with one job: tell everyone what you saw. Those survivors became walking advertisements for Mongol terror. They carried the stories to every city within 1,000 miles. By the time the Mongol army showed up at the next gate, defenders had already heard what happened. Many surrendered without a fight. The Mongols turned human beings into press releases, and those press releases won more battles than swords ever did. If you are learning something from this video, hit subscribe right now. We cover dark history every week, and the next 5 entries will genuinely shock you. Number 11. Crushed to death by elephants. In 1305, the Sultan of Delhi captured a group of Mongol prisoners and turned their own terror tactics against them. He had the prisoners crushed to death, one by trained war elephants, while entire crowds watched and cheered. The elephants stepped on each prisoner slowly. After they were dead, the Sultan built a tower from their severed heads and displayed it at the city gates. The Mongols who heard about that tower carried the story back to their commanders, and for once in Mongol history, the terror traveled in the opposite direction. And this is where we move into the punishments the Mongols used inside their own army. Number 10. Executed for falling asleep. The Mongol military code, called the Yasa, was written by Genghis Khan himself, and it had zero tolerance for failure. Fall asleep on guard duty, and the punishment was death. Retreat without orders, death. Drop equipment on the march, death. If one member of a 10-man squad deserted, the other 9 could be executed, unless they brought the deserter back. The Yasa turned the Mongol army into the most disciplined fighting force on Earth, but it also meant Mongol soldiers feared their own commanders almost as much as they feared the enemy. Obey perfectly or die. There was no space in between. Breaking military code got you killed fast, but breaking a promise to the Khan got you something much slower. Number 9. Smothered without a single mark. The Mongols believed spilling noble blood on the ground would cause earthquakes, floods, and plagues. So when they needed to execute someone of high rank, they found ways to kill without leaving a single drop on the earth. One method was smothering. The prisoner was held face down while soldiers pressed heavy felt blankets over their mouth and nose until they stopped breathing. No blood, no marks, no wound of any kind. The body looked almost peaceful when it was over, which is exactly what the Mongols wanted. But the death itself took long, agonizing minutes of suffocating terror while the victim was fully conscious and fighting for every last breath the entire time. The Mongols had another bloodless method that was even more creative than smothering. Number 8. Cooked alive in sheep fat under the desert sun. A captured Persian nobleman discovered this punishment firsthand. The Mongols covered his entire body in thick sheep fat, wrapped him tight in layers of heavy felt, and left him tied up under the blazing desert sun. The fat slowly cooked into his skin as the temperature inside that felt cocoon climbed higher and higher. He could not move, could not roll over, could not even scream properly with the felt pressing against his face. He baked alive for hours, while Mongol soldiers sat nearby in the shade and watched. No blade touched him, no blood was spilled, but the sun did all the work a sword would have done, just 100 times slower and 1,000 times more painful. And if cooking a man alive sounds extreme, what they did to capture generals will make you lose sleep. Number 7. Boiled alive in front of your own soldiers. Before Genghis Khan united the Mongol tribes, his biggest rival was a warlord named Jamuka. And Jamuka had a favorite punishment so extreme it actually drove warriors to switch sides. After winning a major battle, Jamuka had captured enemy generals thrown into giant boiling cauldrons alive, while their own soldiers were forced to watch. Historical sources describe 70 cauldrons used at the same time. Whether that number is exact or just meant a whole lot does not matter. The screams from those boiling pots were so horrible that fighters across the entire steppe started joining Genghis Khan instead. They figured anyone had to be better than the man who boils people alive for sport. And honestly, they were not wrong. Genghis had his own nightmare list, waiting for every single one of them. Number 6. Spine cracked in a rigged wrestling match. Years before Genghis became Khan, a famous wrestler named Buri embarrassed his brother Belgute in a public match. Genghis never forgot it. When he finally rose to power, he invited Buri for a rematch. Terrified, Buri threw the fight on purpose, hoping that losing would save his life. It did not. At a signal from Genghis, Belgute slammed his knee into Buri's back and pulled on his collarbone until the spine cracked apart. Buri was dragged outside, paralyzed but fully awake, and left on the ground to die while everyone watched. The Mongols called that mercy, because no blood touched the earth. Number 5. heads on poles for miles. After taking a city, the Mongols lined the main road leading away from the ruins with severed heads mounted on wooden poles. The heads stretched for miles, creating a pathway of death that every traveler had